What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again. It's I, your host, Adam Perez. We've got ourselves another Dinnovator review for you guys as we're going to be getting into episode number 3, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. The third episode wind up dropping last Friday or last week, if I'm not mistaken. We wind up getting some English subs for you guys. So wanted to go ahead and break down this particular week's episode, one that I thoroughly enjoyed. I feel like this is maybe the shortest episode that we've got, coming in at about maybe 10 minutes or so. Once you kind of get past the first initial sort of credits and things like that, opening credits I should say, it's usually about maybe a 10-minute episode or so. But this is one that I thoroughly enjoy, the idea of what do you do if you're not capable sort of transforming, right? I mean, we wind up getting the opportunity last week to see Miku kind of rush right into a situation to go and help somebody that was certainly begging for help. But what happens if you were certainly to get there not able to certainly transform and have to fend against some of these monsters by yourself? It definitely feels like we got a little bit of a tease in that in episode number 2, and she realizes she's much more powerful as Dino Terra once she's actually transformed. So I love the idea, just storyline purposes, to kind of investigate that idea of like, well, again, what would happen if you don't have your Dinnovator abilities? Can you certainly keep up? And so that's really the premise of this episode, where we get to see Miku training alongside her brand new master, as she now refers to him as. And I think Dinotops even refers to her sort of as his pupil, if you will. So we get the opportunity to see them doing some training in the beginning of this episode. I love the fact that she tries to tell him to let off a little bit, right? Go a little bit easier on her. But it is the idea of, if I don't necessarily push you or try and train with you hard, how do you certainly expect yourself to certainly grow and become stronger? You know what I mean? So while jokingly she certainly has some pushback against that notion, it is pretty interesting to see that by the end of this episode, not only does she want to train even more, but I definitely do think that she certainly learns the lesson and the idea, and at least understands the idea that she certainly is getting stronger, right? Like when they first have their initial battle, if you will, with Miku along with the alien creature here in this week's episode, she even references the idea like, I feel like I'm getting a little bit stronger sort of already as it is. So clearly the training is paying off, and it's something that she certainly recognizes by the end, because even when Dinotops, one who has been pushing the idea of training after their really big battle that they have in this episode, even he's thinking, let's take a load off, all right? Let's go ahead and do some training tomorrow. But she certainly is the one to go ahead and continue to certainly push it. So I like the growth of Miku in here, right? Somebody who's kind of questioning whether or not she should even be a Dinnovator. Why did they certainly choose me? And I think these past couple of episodes are hopefully giving her the confidence that she needs to realize that she's certainly capable of doing more than even I think she is certainly aware of, and is becoming a great member for the Dinnovator. So you know, I will say this, it was a little bit odd not getting the opportunity to truly see Dino Rex involved much in here. It was almost like he was utilized as sort of like, I don't want to even say the comic relief, but very the more lighthearted stuff towards the end, right? Like we see him facing off against these henchmen very briefly in this episode, and then towards the very end, after the monster's destroyed, everybody's like, you know what, just go home, buddy. Like we really don't even need you. I hope it doesn't become a case of like odd man out, like now, you know, now that we've got Dino Terra, she's the only girl for my eyes sort of thing. We don't need you as a third member. I hope it doesn't get to that or anything like that, but it was just some really great kind of light humor at the end of the day that, yeah, bro, don't even worry about it, right? Like I know you tried to rush to my rescue in episode number 2, but the two of us were certainly able to handle it this time. And I think, again, that's in part to do with Dino Terra just becoming stronger with who she is as a character, along with just her physical strength and abilities. So choreography and fight was certainly on point in here. Great to see the utilization of the weapons once again. They wind up actually having to test that theory of how powerful you can certainly be if you're not able to change into your Dinnovator mode with the alien this week that has the ability to absorb your powers. And so it winds up getting its hold on Dino Terra along with Dinotops. But I really love the idea here that Dinotops, even not transformed, is determined to get his powers back, and the fact that he literally punches this monster until he actually spits out their powers, I thought was actually pretty brilliant, right? So it does go to show that even Dinotops not being transformed, more than capable of certainly taking care of himself, and was certainly capable of getting everybody's abilities back. So I really enjoyed what he was able to do in this episode, to say the least. Quick honorable mentions: Miku continuing to look absolutely great. They had her in sort of like just literally a t-shirt and underwear in this episode, kind of in her training mode, if you will, even though all the dudes were like fully dressed and things like that. So definitely showing off some skin in this episode. It certainly shouldn't come as a surprise. If there was any sort of like issue that I did have with this episode though, and I hope they kind of address this, it's the idea of continuity. Continuity is certainly important, and as somebody that myself, when it comes to filmmaking, you know, I kind of look at like how people edit some of their videos and things like that, some of the episodes. The idea that we do have these characters training outside, Miku outside training by herself, as I believe Dinotops wind up leaving. The monster winds up dropping up in here outside to certainly confront her. And when she goes ahead and transforms, she's transforming outside. But once she's actually in her gear and transformed, they're back inside of a warehouse all of a sudden, like the same locations that they've been filming all these other sort of fight sequences and things like that. So I was a little bit surprised that they just didn't allow the monster and the Dinnovator costume to be outside in the open to go ahead and actually have this particular battle, because she was attacked outside, and somehow now that she's transformed, she's all of a sudden like in a warehouse or a parking lot area sort of thing. And it really just kind of, I don't want to say necessarily fully pulls me out of the episode, but it's something that I certainly do notice and recognize. I mean, I get the idea that this is an independent studio and an independent company creating Tokusatsu, but stick with the continuity. If you're outside when you transform, I'm trying to figure out, like, is there a law against you can't film outside in these costumes or something like that? So I was kind of thrown by that a little bit. It kind of irked me, because as much as I love the fight choreography, the costumes and everything like that look great, I would like to see these fights taking place in other locations besides indoors. I feel like they did that very well with Waku Saver. I'm trying to figure out why it is that they haven't necessarily pulled the trigger when it comes to Dinnovator in doing that with the costumes. The civilian fights and everything take place outside. I am getting tired of the same locations. Like, I am surprised that they couldn't find more locales. Like, even just seeing Dinotops as he's walking down the street or walking down this field, it's right next to the same bridge that I've seen over the past 2-3 episodes so far of Dinnovator. So if there is sort of any critique, please be aware of your continuity, where you're at when you're transforming, where you're at when you all of a sudden are in your gear and are fighting, and then just maybe try and scout for more locales if I had to pick anything. But other than that, I enjoyed the episode. I continue to see the growth in Dino Terra. I like the partnerships that we're certainly gaining here. The fight choreography looks great, and they do have little touches and tinges of humor here, which I could certainly appreciate. So listen, guys, at the end of the day, I definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts. What did you guys think about Dinnovator episode number 3? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. As always, these are just simply my A+ opinions, but I definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts, guys. But if anything, we certainly will be back next week with a brand new review for you guys. So until then, do us a big favor, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.